Hi, everyone. We are live. It is now a little past 7 p.m. on Wednesday, June 5th. Wednesday, June 5th, the Dolphins completed their second minicamp practice of 2024 on Wednesday. It's going to turn out to be the last of the minicamp practice because the Dolphins went ahead and canceled practice for Thursday. They are going to have a walkthrough, but that's going to be the end of the offseason program for the Dolphins. And in the end, they will have used 5 of their available 10 days of practice between OTAs and the 3-day minicamp, 10 being the maximum allowed by the CBA. The Dolphins, again, used a lower number like they did last year. This is nothing new. And the cancellation of the practice in favor of a walkthrough on Thursday, the last day of the offseason program, is not anything that's terribly unusual. In the past, we've seen other coaches take their team bowling as a team bonding event. There have been trips to the movie theater to go see a movie. I'm thinking mid-2010s is when we saw those. So, again, this is maybe another piece of evidence that the offseason program, while it does serve a purpose, particularly for younger players in terms of the acclimation to NFL life, learning the system, their development, getting adjusted to the speed of the NFL. Again, there's only so much that veterans can get out of the offseason program. And we're going to get into a full mini camp day 2 recap a little bit later on. And then we'll check out comments and do our usual Q&A. First off, though, we will do a history lesson. This is episode 302 of the All Dolphins podcast. And as always, I correspond the last 2 digits of the episode number with the last 2 digits of the season. So in this particular case, this is going to be 2002, which was very interesting, ultimately disappointing for the Dolphins, who got off to a very good start. This was a season when they made the trade in March for Ricky Williams, gave up a first-round pick, a conditional first-round pick, which they wound up having to give up because Ricky Williams met the thresholds to trigger that second first-round pick. There also were some later-round picks involved as well, and it's impossible to complain about that trade from a Dolphin standpoint because Ricky Williams in 2002 was absolutely superb, led the NFL in rushing with 1,853 yards, easily breaking the previous franchise record, which was 1,258. Nobody has really come close to that 1,853 that led the NFL. Ricky Williams had arguably one of the top 5 greatest individual seasons in Dolphin history. I think you'd probably still have to go Dan Marino 1984 at number 1. I think Tyreek Hill, either one of his last 2 seasons with the crazy numbers he's put up, also is up there. And then you have to put Ricky Williams again, 1,853 yards. I want to say 16 touchdowns. And the Dolphins got off to a great start. They were 5-1 after a thrilling Sunday night win at Denver, where the 2 field goal kickers traded 50-yard field goals, actually a little more than 50 yards, but you get the drift. In the final minute, that was the first time that ever been done in the NFL. I don't know if it's been matched since then. It was Jason Elam for the Broncos, Lindo Mare for the Dolphins. They won 24-22. Patrick Surtain had a pick 6 in that game. Father of Patrick Surtain of the Denver Broncos. Patrick Surtain is now an assistant coach at Florida State after spending 1 season as an assistant with the Dolphins. However, in that game, Jay Fiedler sustained a thumb injury. I believe he broke a thumb. Had to miss 3 games. Dolphins unfortunately lost all 3 of those games. It wound up to the end of the season. The Dolphins were still at 9-5 in decent shape. And this is when, again, I mentioned this on the show yesterday, the NFL schedule makers decided to throw a curveball or a knuckleball, whatever you want to call it, or a Randy Johnson fastball at the Dolphins, scheduled them for a Monday night, followed by a Sunday game, followed by a Saturday game. In this particular case, the Saturday game was against the Minnesota Vikings in Minnesota, where the Vikings had the ball for like 40 minutes. They controlled the ball the entire time and won the game on a 53-yard field goal by Gary Anderson in the final minute. And then the following week, season finale at New England, the Dolphins had a 24-13 lead with 5 minutes left. And then it was Murphy's Law. Everything that could go wrong went wrong. including a kickoff out of bounds, and the Dolphins wound up losing in overtime to finish 9-7 and get knocked out of the playoffs. So that was a very disappointing ending to the season overall. This was a team that had really had some intriguing possibilities. Had it not been for Fiedler's injury, this was Jay Fiedler's best season as Dolphins starting quarterback, but those 3 games they missed in the middle of the season turned out to be killers in terms of the Dolphins' major hopes. So as we mentioned earlier, we are going to recap what happened on day 2 of the 2024 minicamp for the Dolphins. On the field, again, Tua Tagovailoa participated only in 7-on-7s. Mike McDaniel told us before practice on Tuesday, it's kind of basically it's Tua's call to get as much work or as little work as he wants. Kind of clearly, obviously related to his contract situation, as he still wants an extension, and that's still in the works. Jeff Darlington of ESPN reported on Tuesday night that he expects a deal to get done by mid-July or late July at the latest. That semi-contradicts what Tua said on Tuesday when he was asked whether he was confident that he'd get a deal before the start of training camp, when he said, "I'm confident I'll get a deal," and left it at that without mentioning before the start of training camp. And it's the same players, along with Tua doing only the 7-on-7s, the same other players were there. As I'm like distracted here by a comment I see. Let me tell you something. Brandon, I have no idea what that refers to. I don't think that's a phrase I use, but maybe I do subconsciously. So I don't know exactly what you're referring to, but okay, whatever. Moving on. So the same cast of characters present but not participating: Terron Armstead, Odell Beckham Jr., the injured linebackers recovering: Bradley Chubb, Jalen Phillips, Cameron Good. Isaiah Wynn also did not participate. T.R. Tart, the defensive tackle from FIU, who was not seen by the media on Tuesday, was back in action. In terms of the highlights, Jalen Waddle again had an effective practice with a couple of long catches, one from Tua in 7-on-7s, one against Mike White in 11-on-11s, where couldn't really tell who was responsible for the coverage. The 3 defenders closest to him wound up being Patrick McMorris, the rookie 6th-round pick from Cal. 6th-round pick from Cal, as well as Saran Neal, cornerback the Dolphins signed as a free agent from Buffalo, and Cam Smith, the second-year cornerback, who's trying to make a big step forward after his rather forgettable rookie season. And then Cam Smith also was on the wrong end of the completion from Tua to Jalen Waddle in 7-on-7s. Not exactly a crime to get beat deep by Jalen Waddle. Shaq Barrett also was very noticeable in this practice, had a quote-unquote would-be sack, and we always call them would-be sacks, or in air quotes, because when a pass rusher gets close to the quarterback in a practice, the player just stops. Usually what happens is the play continues and the quarterback's going to throw his pass anyway. Sometimes the play will be blown dead or stopped. More often than not, though, the play will continue. So he had one of those. So good performance by Shaq Barrett. Also had a pass deflected in the middle of the field on an 11-11. I want to say it was against Mike White. However, this was a pass that wound up floating close to his vicinity where he really should have made the interception. He didn't, and it did the obligatory push-ups. I believe he did the push-ups after the play, because that's what defensive players do in practice if they come up short on making an interception that they feel they should have made. Trying to think of what else quickly really stood out against. Again, this is a June minicamp. For those who are going to ask about Tua and the way he threw the ball, he was very accurate on Tuesday on 7-on-7. Again, 7-on-7, there's no pass rush. A lot of the passes will wind up being 5 yards with a clear field in front of you. There were more completions down the field today, but there were also more incompletions. don't know that Skylar or Mike White shined either in 7-on-7s or in 11-on-11. I don't believe Skylar got any reps in 7-on-7. Beyond those players, I think those are the guys who really stood out. Sure, I think those are the guys who really stood out. Now, after practice, we had a whole slew of players and coaches do media sessions. Some interesting things came out of those. Today was a day where we got to speak to every single solitary assistant coach on the staff, except for assistant position coaches. So that included offensive coordinator Frank Smith, defensive coordinator Anthony Weaver, special teams coordinator Danny Crossman. And that was after we spoke to a bunch of players, including Terron Armstead and Jaylen Ramsey. And some of the highlights here, one of which would involve Danny Crossman, the special teams coach, who in light of the Kansas City Chiefs suggesting that maybe they're going to use their safety Justin Reed to do kickoffs because they want another tackler on the field, Danny Crossman was like, no, we want our kickers to handle the kickoffs because they want specific areas where they want the ball to go, which obviously is easier to do with somebody who's got a lot of kicking experience as opposed to a DB who has some kicking ability like Justin Reed does. He's kicked some extra points. The Dolphins are going to go with Jason Sanders or Jake Bailey, who's done a lot of kicking off in his NFL career, including with the Dolphins last year. And speaking of that, I'm just reminded that the Dolphins do have somebody on their coaching staff who was not a kicker in the NFL, who did some kicking. That was Wes Welker when he was with the Dolphins in 2004. And Olindo Mari had pulled a groin or a hamstring, some sort of leg issue, and couldn't finish the game. So it was Wes Welker who did the kicking. I know he made a kick. I'm trying to remember if it was an extra point or a short field goal or maybe one of each, but he did do it in a decent form. Among the other comments or the things that stood out is, which was very interesting, the defensive coaching staff, which includes a whole lot of new faces, including new linebackers coach Joe Barry, the former Green Bay Packers defensive coordinator, new outside linebackers, pass rush specialist Ryan Crow coming over from Tennessee. Well, what they're doing, and of course the new defensive coordinator Anthony Weaver, is apparently they play some basketball games, the defensive coaching staff, on Tuesdays and Thursdays. That's according to Anthony Weaver, who pointed the finger at Austin Clark as being the defensive line coach, as being the guy who commits the most fouls. And of course, Austin Clark is like, who, me, what? No, what? And in case you were wondering, apparently the unanimous best basketball player among the defensive coaching staff is Deshaun Sheed, who's a newcomer on the staff, who's an assistant position coach, who is fairly recently retired, played with the Seattle Seahawks. I don't believe it was that long ago that his NFL career ended. So he's fresh out of the game. So he's still got the great athletic ability going. So apparently he's quite the basketball player. Among the players, Terron Armstead spoke and again talked about his decision to return for a 12th NFL season. Basically, again, said it came down to loves what's going on here with the Dolphins, wanted to give another shot. The assumption has been, based on the fact that he's talked about considering retiring the past couple of off seasons because of the structure of his contract. Remember, he took a pay cut after he came back. His cap number went down by some $10 million, almost went in half. It was going to be in the 20s, in the low 20s. Now it's a little over 10. And he's got no guaranteed money beyond 2024. So if you put those factors together, the assumption has been that this likely will be Terron Armstead's last season. He is saying, don't know, no idea, taking it 1 year at a time, and then we'll revisit at the end of the season. And says he feels good. And then, of course, he reiterated the fact that his one goal is to be able to play a season injury-free, play every single game. And he made a great point. And he said, like, I know injuries have been my Achilles heel. And then he mentioned the point, though, if you're blocking somebody and somebody falls into your leg from the side, what are you going to do? And we mentioned that yesterday in my discussion with Chris Perkins in episode 301, that there's a fluky nature to certain injuries. If you're dealing with soft tissue injuries that keep happening over and over again, yeah, maybe you have reason to question how well a person prepares or takes care of his body. And we were dealing with kind of some of that with Devontae Parker during his time with the Dolphins. And I apologize for those who didn't like Devontae Parker, don't like his name mentioned. But he's certainly a guy who comes to mind as far as that goes. And even I had made the point about the freakish nature and the fluky nature of injuries with Tua, where the two concussions in 2022, or the two diagnosed discussions, I should say, were kind of fluky plays where he got flung to the ground by defensive linemen or edge defenders. And then the previous year, I think he hit his hand on the helmet of a defender or a pass rusher or an offensive lineman. That caused him to miss a game or some time. So, and with Armstead last year, again, against Buffalo in week 4, he's blocking somebody. Pass rusher comes in, loses his balance, and dives into the side of the knee, misses a couple of games. And then against Washington, he's blocking. He's got his guy completely stood up at the line of scrimmage. Somebody's body comes flying next to him, leg whips out and kicks Armstead, and boom, he's got to miss another couple of games. So he's right that there is a fluky nature to it. Maybe, again, with Tua last year, maybe this is the year Armstead catches a break and doesn't get that kind of fluky injury and plays 17 games. I know a lot of Dolphin fans, and there have been some detractors of Armstead. He's taken his shots. Here we go. Noel B1. And thank you, Noel, for proving my point right there. It says for Terron, the season is about 8 games. Played 10 last year. And again, is it possible to believe that maybe the bad luck's going to run out at some point? Yeah, it could run out at some point. Don't count on it, but it could run out at some point. And then the other player interview that stood out was Jaylen Ramsey. I had kind of a weird short answer when Adam Beasley from Pro Football Network asked him, based on the fact that he returned after missing 7 games last year, if now he feels even better than he did November and December. And Ramsey gave him a look like, if I didn't feel right last year, I wouldn't have played. The one interesting comment that Ramsey did make, and he was kind of asked about Anthony Weaver, and I think about a comparison to things this year as opposed to last year, and he was like, yeah, I'm not doing a comparison. You guys can have that one. He did say, the very interesting comment there from Jaylen Ramsey, that he's got a defensive coordinator who likes to use his guys in multiple ways to get the best use out of them. And that last year was the anomaly for Jaylen Ramsey because it was the first time where he was asked to stay on one side, not doing any shadowing, not doing any roaming around the secondary. And remember that in his time with the LA Rams, he did some moving around, including some like quote unquote joker or star position, they called it, some slot work. And I think there was some safety snaps as well that he took during his time with the Rams. So the suggestion and the way also that the Rams made use of Kyle Hamilton last year as their guy in the secondary who they could roam around in different spots. There you go. Cap for Life says Weaver says he wants a tsunami front 4. Yeah. He did say that. I wasn't there for Anthony Weaver. There's a lot so you understand the way it was set up. There were 4 tables outside of the Dolphins facility at the Baptist Health Training Complex, and there was somebody at each table at every time, so you kind of had to go around, and it's impossible to get everybody. You could just get enough of everybody for the most part. One more thing about the practice highlights. As we mentioned, Odell Beckham Jr. didn't do anything again, and Mike McDaniel said before practice, without using the words, he's got some kind of a physical issue. He kind of like talked about bringing him along and managing and not wanting to have any setbacks. So obviously, certainly leads one to believe that there's some sort of physical issue going on with Odell Beckham. During the practice, however, quarterbacks at one point got on the near field at the 10-yard line, taking a football. There was a horizontal net set up in the left corner of the end zone, and the idea is you throw a lofting pass and try to get into the net. And Gavin Hardison, the rookie free agent from UTEP, was the winner among the quarterbacks. He went 3 for 3 Odell Beckham got his first one in. He got his second one in, I believe. And then as he was retrieving the ball after the drill was over, it was those typical Odell Beckham catches where he reaches out with his right hand and just snags the ball like it's a Nerf ball. Really, really impressive. And then for good measure, he goes back toward the middle of the field, stands at midfield, smack dab on the 50-yard line, throws it toward the end zone. The ball bounces off the back of the end zone, off the goalpost, which is 60 yards, as you probably know, which was very impressive. So in terms of news, again, there will be nothing tomorrow. It's going to be a walkthrough tomorrow. Mike McDaniel will address the media for the last time, and then that's going to be it until the start of training camp in late July. And again, the best news as far as we can tell. Oh, I should mention the guys who were not there again today. David Long Jr., Chris Brooks, who in 4 media outings we did not see once. David Long we did see earlier. He wasn't there today. Those were the only. Savon Ahmed we also did not see. Jaquan Burton, the rookie wide receiver free agent from FAU, we did not see either. And then there was Taj Washington, the rookie 7th-round pick, who Wes Welker said after practice during his interview session he was dealing with some kind of an injury. So that pretty much wraps up this portion. So now we shall go ahead and do our Q&A with the comments here. And again, as I haven't said it before, and my bad, thanks everyone for those who are joining me. Please like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Much appreciated. So here we go. What do we got? A lot of greetings. There we go. Cap for life, mandatory walkthrough. Really? Okay, McDaniel. My comment on this, yeah, it is mandatory. Again, like I said, it is really, really not unusual for coaches to cancel that last offseason practice. Also know the Dolphins are one of 6 teams around the NFL who are ending their offseason program this week. I had the list somewhere down. I think I ran through it earlier. I know Philly's one of them. Dallas is one of them. The 49ers. I think the Colts are one of them, and I can't remember the 5th one. It might be Detroit. Don't quote me on that. But it's not unusual. And again, and this goes back to this whole notion of the NFLPA maybe putting together a proposal to eliminate on-field work for the offseason. Again, for the veterans. Don't know that there's a ton that really is crucial that really needs to be done. So Cap for life, sorry, I'm not with you on that one. Walkthrough is perfectly fine. Ryan AP, Ricky, I'm assuming you mean Ricky Williams since I was talking about. Yep. And Raphael says 34 was a beast. 34, I would tell you, in all my years of covering the Dolphins, and for those who are not familiar with my story, I have covered the Miami Dolphins. First game I ever covered was November 10th, 1985 at the Orange Bowl. A 21-17 win against the New York Jets on a Marino to Mark Duper touchdown pass, 50 yards down the right sideline in the final minute. I have covered the Dolphins on a full-time basis since 1989 when I started with Dolphin Digest. In all those years, Ricky Williams was the most naturally gifted running back on this team, and there's not a close second. The vision that guy had and the smoothness with which he ran the ball and glided through holes, what a thing of beauty. I mean, damn, that dude was good. Damn, that dude was good. And I will tell you this, and I made this statement before for those of you who may remember, goes back a ways as well. The one who came closest to giving me those vibes since Ricky was Cecil Collins in 1999 after the Dolphins drafted him in the 5th round out of McNeese State, except that Cecil Collins couldn't stay out of trouble. It was how he wound up at McNeese State after starting off at LSU, despite those ridiculous running skills, and it ended his career before it even started. Waste of talent, really. So anyway, that is so rude. No, Carlo. I'm not even going to acknowledge your comment. It's rude. Brandon says it's a viral video on YouTube. Very funny bungle jump video about 2 minutes long. Okay, maybe I'll check it out. What do we got? Dominic Cosentino. Hi, Dominic. If Tua wants to sign a contract at the Daniel Jones range, get it done. Otherwise, let's wait until he proves he can consistently perform against playoff caliber teams. There is zero chance. Or okay, sorry, I don't want to make it that absolute, because I don't want to be wrong. If I 0%, let's say there's a 0.1% chance that Tua and his representation would even consider a Daniel Jones type of deal in terms of the range of the salary. In fact, I think if the Dolphins were to bring that up, the Tua's representation probably would hang up on the Dolphins. I think Tua's comment yesterday about the market is the market basically tells you it's going to be Jared Goff type money if it gets done. And again, here's the thing, as we talk about these contract negotiations, it takes two. It takes both sides to reach an agreement, and that Tua is pretty clear with that comment. The market's the market, and the market is Jared Goff, who, however you want to rank them, Jared Goff and Tua, you can make an argument for both in terms of where they stand in the quarterback pecking order. But if you're going to compare the two and then do a price point, kind of hard to disagree with Tua's representation and Tua himself saying, Jared Goff, that's the deal I want. The big question is going to come with the guaranteed money. Jared Goff got $171 million guaranteed. Is Tua going to be, or the Dolphins going to be willing to give that to Tua? My guess is if the Dolphins were to guarantee that kind of money to Tua, he would be signed tomorrow. Yeah, that's funny. No, Obi-Wan, that's funny. Don't even pass gas near the red shirt. The red shirt is what the quarterbacks wear in practice, and yeah, you're not wrong. Although I seem to recall, I recall, might have been rookie minicamp. There was a rookie defender who won his rep on the pass rush and might have made contact with the arm of the quarterback. And don't ask me who it was. I don't know if it was, I don't believe it was Gavin Hardison. And that was like, whoa. I mean, there's somebody who's going to get a talking to, because you do not touch a quarterback in practice. Raphael Courtright. Hey, Raphael, why didn't the Dolphins bring in a quality backup QB to gain some leverage on Tua? QB to challenge him, remind me going soft way of babying Tua. Here's the thing, and I'm glad you bring that up because I want to address this. And here's my question, and this I'm going to piss off some people, but kind of what I do, isn't it? How do we know how good of a backup Mike White is? How can we possibly know? Furthermore, how can we possibly make an evaluation on Teddy Bridgewater as a quarterback? Yes, I went there. Okay? Because I am going to remind everyone, Teddy Bridgewater did not start and finish a game in 2022 with the Dolphins. He had 5 appearances. Buffalo in week 3, after Tua had to leave the game late in the first half after he was shoved by Matt Milano and had the quote-unquote back injury. Then Bridgewater came in late in the second quarter against Cincinnati after Tua was injured. Bridgewater started the game against the Jets, was out after one play after the spotters from upstairs, because of the new rule, decided that he looked like he might have concussion symptoms, and that was it. The following against Minnesota, Skylar Thompson got the start, hurt his thumb, I think it was his thumb, yeah. And Teddy Bridgewater came in early in the second quarter, and then his 5th appearance was against New England in week 16, where he threw the pick six, got injured, stupidly trying to get in the way for the tackle. That was early in the third quarter. So for those of you, man, the amount of abuse that guy has taken, and forget about starting and finishing a game. Teddy Bridgewater never played as much as 3 full quarters in any game for the Dolphins, and yet all the fans, a lot of Tua fans, I should say, sucks, loser. You can see what this team would be devastated without him. Okay, and then this is where I'm going to go. The flip side of it is if the sample size was big enough to decide that Teddy Bridgewater sucked as a backup, then this is where I'm going to counter, where his stats in the equivalent, I think it was about 9 quarters, projected to 17 games equaled 5,400 passing yards. That's 5,400 passing yards. So if you want to say that's absurd, ridiculous because the sample size is too small, well, the sample size then should be too small as well to already decide that he sucked. So that's always bothered me. Okay, so now, and then for those, again, who like Dolphins couldn't win without Tua, it was very clear in 2022 when they lost every time he was out. Okay, well, let's examine that as well. In the 3 games, Tua missed 3 games entirely. Okay, he missed the game against the Jets. He missed the game against the Vikings. He missed 4 games entirely against the Patriots. He missed the game against the New York Jets in the season finale, and then we're going to add the playoff game against Buffalo. Okay, so how are we going to do this? The 3 games the Dolphins lost in the regular season, Jets, Vikings, Patriots, there was an in-game quarterback change because of injury in all 3 of the losses, as I mentioned earlier with Bridgewater. That's number 1. And in all of those games, you had a quarterback leave because of injury. That's number 1. And when we did a 1st and 10 with Mike White, the first question that Omar asked Mike White was, what's the most difficult thing in football? And his answer was being a backup quarterback and being thrown into a game because of an injury. So, okay, so keep that in mind. And then the number 2 factor in those 3 losses, the common denominator, not one single takeaway by the defense. Okay, and this is where, and if you recall, and then I will make the argument also, Dolphins, it's not like the Dolphins didn't have chances for those games against the Vikings. And then the first 2 of those losses, the turning point in the 4th quarter when the Dolphins had a chance to go take the lead came by mistakes from non-quarterbacks. Against Minnesota, it was Jaylen Waddle fumbling the ball at the end of a reception when the Dolphins were mounting a comeback and were ready to take the lead. Against the Jets, it was Jason Sanders missing a field goal when that could have given them the lead, and instead the Jets turned around, scored a touchdown, and piled it on in the 4th quarter. Okay. So, and then for some reason, these are factors that are never, ever mentioned whenever there are discussions about what the Dolphins look like without Tua. And it's so ridiculously incomplete and presents a distorted picture in my mind. Okay. And in the one game that there wasn't a quarterback change, the Dolphins won. They beat the Jets 11-6. And yes, it was an ugly game, and the offense did nothing. You also had a rookie 7th round pick at quarterback. And yes, Brock Purdy's a rookie 7th round pick who did some magnificent things. But again, exception, not the norm. And then in the playoff game, the offense against Buffalo really, really struggled, but they got takeaways, which is why they won. They scored 31 points in losing 34-31. So again, then now this goes back to Mike White to answer your question or your point, Raphael. Again, we don't know what Mike White is. Because what did he get last year? He got mop-up duty. And again, sorry, I do say again a lot. I apologize. Bad habit. I'm working on it. But the reality, if you want to get married to stats, guess what? Mike White had a higher passer rating than Tua last year. Those are the numbers. Was Mike White better than Tua? No. But again, the suggestion that Dolphins don't have a capable quarterback, Mike White sucks. We don't know. We just do not know. And the reality is we might not know unless, because this is the point I made a couple of years ago, and again, it's been misconstrued on social media all over the place. It was basically, my point was, because of everything that Dolphins have structured around the quarterback, that yes, Tua operates this offense beautifully, but the speed at wide receiver is not getting any less remarkable if Tua is not the quarterback. Raheem Mostert, Devon Achane, Jalen Wright are not getting any slower if Tua is not the quarterback. So the point that I had made was I did not think that the drop-off between QB1 and another quarterback, if he got starter reps in practice and played the whole game, would be as significant as a lot of fans think. And guess what? I have gotten, I don't know, I've stopped counting on how many nasty comments I've gotten for that. I mean, how much ridicule I've gotten from some of the comments. My stance has not changed. And the bottom line is Mike White a good backup quarterback? We don't know. We just don't know. We do know he had some really good games for the Jets in spot starts. I think one of them was against the Bengals, who generally the last few years have had a very good defense. But we do not know. As far as the other point about bringing somebody to compete for Tua, that's not the Dolphins' MO. The Dolphins do not believe in having a battle for the starting quarterback job. And again, if their view from their point, and this is all they've said publicly, is that they have their guy, their offense is built around him and all that, then I don't know. If you're a skeptic and you have your doubts, I don't think there would be anything wrong with it. But that's not the MO. Okay, moving on. Cap for Life, I just found out Daniel Jones and Tua have the exact same agent, just like Jordan Love is also athletes first. LOL. Is that a predicament? No. No, I don't think it's a predicament. Christian Wilkins also was athletes first. Please smash a like button, guys. Thank you, Cap for Life. Ooh, no, B1. That's not now. We just need someone to kick field goals. LOL. Dude, are we really complaining about the work Jason Sanders did last year? Dude was good. He was good. And he was clutch on the stretch. That Dallas game, I don't know. Dolphins don't win that Dallas game if Sanders has just an okay game. What was he? 5 for 5, including, was it 2 or 3 from 50 and the game winner? Pretty good stuff. I got Game New Jersey. Now Hill wants more money. Got news for you. Hill wanted more money before that. Before the Waddle extension, before the Justin Jefferson extension, you saw or you read about his appearance on the Around the Bar podcast, which I wrote about on si.com/NFL/Dolphins. And that's another personal request of mine, along with liking and subscribing. Check out the website. I would greatly appreciate and read the stories. I mean, we pump out a lot of content every day. It's free, not behind a paywall like some other folks, including Omar. So check it out if you get a chance. Again, it's si.com/NFL/Dolphins. So I wrote about Tyreek appearing on the Around the Bar podcast that was several weeks ago. And he said he wanted to retire a Dolphin for life. But as we discussed again yesterday, he wants to retire as a Dolphin, but he wants to be among the highest paid wide receivers. So, yeah. Okay, great. At some point, something's going to have to give because I don't know if the Dolphins can make it happen. And it's not like the Dolphins didn't know that Justin Jefferson was going to get a contract extension at some point. It's not like they didn't know they were going to sign Jalen Waddle at some point. It's not like they didn't know that A.J. Brown was going to get a new contract, or that C.D. Lamb's up for a contract, or that T. Higgins is up for a contract. So if the Dolphins wanted to do the old stay ahead of the market and sign him sooner so you don't have to go higher if you wait too long, which is an argument I hear about Tua, they knew all of this and they needed space in the offseason, and an extension would have lowered his cap number for 2024, and they didn't do it. And he's got no guaranteed money beyond this year. So if I connect the dots, yep, Tyreek wants more money, and he's the most important player on this offense. But I'm still not 100% convinced, and I don't know which way I lean as far as where he's going to be in 2025. Color commentary. I got a sudden hankering for a turkey sandwich with mustard. I love turkey. You'll have to explain to me what that means. The reference, I don't get it, but I love turkey. Not processed though. That's no bueno. But I love turkey. Unlike my previous colleague Omar, who dumps on turkey every chance he gets, and I can only shake my head like, what is wrong with you? Color commentary again. I mean, one of them, his foot was stepped on in camp. You're talking about Terron. It was in the joint practice against Houston, and I was there, and I was on this side. I was watching the offense. Omar was watching the Dolphin defense against the Houston offense. And I honestly couldn't tell you. I don't know if there ever a video that was shown of it. I couldn't see what happened because I was following the ball as the play was. It was a sweep to the left, and then a little bit more inside of where the running back ended up. We see Terron like not getting up or getting up very slowly. No, he's not getting up, but I couldn't see what happened. No, I know. Thank you very much. I appreciate the contribution. Isn't college football kind of failing the NFL? Sorry, by how few high quality QBs they produce. Started looking at next year's offerings, and to me, it's another slim class. Maybe my expectations are too high. Yeah, the one thing I would say, Noel, is that the timing of the comment is weird, considering there were 6 first-round picks this year. Now, perhaps some of those guys were overdrafted. No, quarterback overdrafted. Yes, it's going to happen. And, of course, I'm going to remember Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, J.J. McCarthy, Bo Nix, and Michael Penix Jr. Again, I don't know how many. Logic says probably 4 out of those 6 are going to become good NFL quarterbacks. So I don't know. You can't expect to have like a flurry of good high-end quarterbacks entering the draft every year. So I don't know that I necessarily would agree with that. What colleges are producing a ton of these days, and that's partly because of the nature of the game in college these days, is wide receivers. I mean, holy moly, like this is like every year. And then cornerbacks kind of by what's the word I'm looking for? Opposite action, because you need good cornerbacks in college to cover those guys. What you're not seeing a ton of, then quarterbacks come and go where it's generally not great, although this year was very good for offensive tackles, but there are a lot of times that those have gone south a little bit. So I don't know. Those things tend to be year to year. I just think like lately, consistently, it's wide receivers. Gray Poupart mustard color. Oh God, I hope color commentary. I hope that wasn't a joke as far as a turkey sandwich, because wow, Gray Poupart. No, okay. John Karen, McDaniel's system is built around Tua. He will be our QB in the foreseeable future. The system needs above average blocking, not just for Tua to be able to throw, but to open holes for the run game. The system was built in part to maximize what Tua does best. The system is built around the speed that they have on offense. And we can disagree with that. That's fine. No big D, no big E. But to me, and again, what makes the Dolphin offense special is the stupid speed they have, particularly a wide receiver, and particularly with Tyreek Hill and the problems he causes opposing defenses. So, and understand that if it was another quarterback running the system, there would be tweaks made to the offensive system to accommodate that quarterback. It wouldn't be just like, okay, this is exactly what we do. You have to fit in. That's not how good coaching operates. I got game. It's Tua's 5th year and 3rd under Mike McDaniel. It's time to put up or shut up time. And that statement right there would, to me, fall in line with the idea of having to play on the 5th-year option. Which I still don't believe is going to happen, but doesn't necessarily mean wouldn't be the wise approach. Color commentary, my humor is a bit dry sometimes. I have a dry sense of humor as well, Color. But if the joke was Grey Poupon, I hate to break it to you, you're not the first one. You're not the first one who's come up with it. 72 undefeated, 5th-year option. Tua isn't worth the money. Okay, that's kind of the big debate, isn't it? Zenman 1001. Finn's defense gave up more points than every other AFC team last season. Well, number one, the division had good defenses all around, even the Patriots, who sucked overall. Number two, where were the Dolphins ranked in total points allowed? I don't have it in front of me. And how much did the 56 burger against the Baltimore Ravens play into that? And all I know is they also were 4th in the NFL in total defense before that Baltimore game. So, this is going to be fun. Troy, how are you, Troy? Alain, where do you rank Tua in the AFC quarterback hierarchy? In your personal opinion, will he ever deliver a championship to Miami? Okay. Second part first. Will he ever deliver a championship to my man? I'll never say never, but things have to be really, really, really good everywhere else on the roster. I don't think Tua is the kind of guy who is going to elevate a team to a Super Bowl title. Where does he rank in my AFC hierarchy? I've done this before. To me, the guys I would say definitely are better would be Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers, under the assumption it's pre-Achilles Aaron Rodgers, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson. I'm still going to put Trevor Lawrence over him, CJ Stroud, Patrick Mahomes, and yes, I'm going to put Justin Herbert, and you can fire off the Arm Queen comments whenever you want. So those are my questions. Richard Machado. Hey, Richard. McDaniel doesn't get enough credit for creating a new motion concept. It was new last year, and some defenses adapted towards the end. Now McDaniel has an offseason to counter and add wrinkles. Actually, McDaniel himself said it was not his, that it came from somebody else. But yeah, they made great use of it. I mean, big time. Big time. And yes, he has. And McDaniel even said that, I think it was today or yesterday, that it's all about adjustment. Like the defense not find a way to counter it. Now you got to come up with a counter to the counter. And then it's the continuing chess match. Dana said no, Lawrence. No problem with that. Again, that's all subjective. So I have no problem if you guys want to disagree with my ranking. Oh, and I would put Tua in the category of no, let me leave it the way it is. But again, this is why, though, for those who too easily fall to, well, look at the NFL in passing yards last year. Jameis Winston led the NFL in passing yards a few years back. Well, they led the lead in passer rating in 2022. Nick Foles led the league in passer rating in 2020, whatever it was, with a 119. Ryan Tannehill led the league in passer rating. So, good question here. Chance, do you think Tyreek Hill and Javon Holland are both gone after this season? No. I'd be very well. First of all, Javon Holland. No, never mind. He's in this contract year. I do believe that Javon Holland's going to be back in 2025. Tyreek, I would put at 50-50. And if I have to lean one way or another, I think I would be leaning towards maybe not. Dana, Noah, and Aaron. Dana, why don't you go? Just tell me all of them that you disagree with before going. Noah and Aaron, Noah and Lawrence. Okay. Caller says I have Goff over Tua as well. I don't think Goff is a great quarterback. I think Goff plays behind the best offensive line in the NFL, and he's got skill position guys that are great all around him. Stroud sure looked real last year. No B1. Yeah. Oh, damn. Yep. B McD is Cam Smith on the hot seat. Guys, we're in June. Didn't have a great practice. He got beat one-on-one by Jaylen Waddle down the field in 7-on-7. And then he was part of the coverage that gave up a long completion to Jaylen Waddle in 11-on-11. I don't know if it was his fault. But again, yeah, it's June. Way, way too early for that. But it would be nice to see if he stepped up. 72 undefeated. Herbert with these weapons would be scary. I will let the comments stand. Brandon Meadows, damn, you got two outside the top 8. Can't argue though that playoff game was hard to watch. And here's the thing: I am not putting the playoff game on Tua. Okay, the conditions were atrocious. Some of his guys on offense were at less than 100%, but to me, it's the accumulation of those games against playoff type opponents and down the stretch. More so against playoff type opponents all season. It just was. And here's the thing too, is that there were a couple of games that started off really, really well. The first 2 drives against Buffalo, the first 2 drives against Baltimore, at Buffalo and at Baltimore, were really, really impressive. Tua was really sharp. The offense was clicking, and then it kind of fell apart. But you gotta stay the whole game. So, but in no way, shape, or form do I put that playoff loss on Tua. I think that's not fair. Billy Batson, Tua about to look really real. Not quite sure what that means, but okay. No. Come on. 72 undefeated. Tua equals Cleo Lemon. Yeah, no. Pete's takes. Why did they cancel practice tomorrow? Again, because it's June. Because there's only so much to gain at this time. A lot of the stuff in the offseason, understand, guys, is about installation of the playbook, getting guys acclimated to what they're doing, and it's a lot of classroom work. And if they do a walkthrough, they can go through plays, even though it's not at full speed, they're just walking through them. So it's really not a big deal. Good question. What is your best guess of Tua's new weight? That is a very good question. I saw somewhere said somebody wrote 220, and I was like, yeah, no, he's not 220. 210, maybe that neighborhood. But he's like, it's a funny. If you guys saw that shot of him at the community event or at the mall event last weekend, he's shaved, he's clean shaven, he's got a new do, and he's lost a weight. And the combination of all those things is, my Lord, he looked like he was 17 years old. Damn. Tua equals Tannehill. Nope, not fair either. Tua's a better quarterback. He's a much, much better passer than Tannehill ever was. Zenman, wonder why the offense seems to dominate so much of the offseason discussions, despite it being the strength of our team. Was it really the strength of the team, though, down the stretch? Was it really the strength of the team in the season finale against Buffalo when the Dolphins led 14-7 heading into the fourth quarter because of the defense, the injury-ravaged defense, I should say, and in the playoff game against the Chiefs, was the offense really the strength of the team, or was it the defense that kept the Dolphins in it for the better part of 2+ quarters? They're also, first of all, it's the nature of the beast, and then who are your two biggest news drivers on this team? It's Tua and Tyreek. So yeah, most of the conversation is going to be about the offense. Hey Noel, thank you again. Why is it not showing up? Come on, pop up. It's not popping up. I'm trying to highlight your comment. Okay, I'll have to read it. It's not letting me highlight your comment for some reason. Oh, let's try this again. There we go. No, I'm watching last year's games again. While Wilkins and Hunt will be missed, Van Ginkel kind of leaves me feeling empty too. Who do you see stepping up to fill his role? The idea, I think, could be a combination of an or situation with Shaquille Barrett, who looked really good the last 2 days. Again, understanding it's a June minicamp, but he still looked very good. And then Chop Robinson with Mo Camara as an outside possibility. But that's the hope, along with the hope that Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips are ready for the start of training camp and can be back to being what they were at their top last season when they were really, really good together. So, we're coming up on an hour. We'll go a few more minutes of these. Justin, any new Channing Tindall news? No, he had a really, really good practice one time. I think it was last week, maybe one of the OTAs. Made a couple of plays in 7-on-7 red zone. But outside of that, no. And the thing is, the Dolphins have put together a really nice off-the-ball linebacker group. Anthony Walker's been great in these practices that we've seen. Got David Long Jr., got Jordan Brooks, and you got Duke Riley. So, Troy, Alain, I've come to the realization Tua is just not good enough to beat the elite teams. 3-13 against them proves it. Do you think Greer knows this, or is he in denial because he wants to save his job? I don't know where the 3-13 stat comes from. I have 6-15 in his career against opponents who made the playoffs that season. But regardless, it's not good. Greer. First of all, it's an opinion. Is Tua not good enough to beat the elite teams? Not by himself. And again, this is where everybody needs somebody. Yes, it's all about degrees. How much help does Patrick Mahomes need? Less than probably any other quarterback in the NFL. How much help around him does Josh Allen need? Less than most quarterbacks. And this is kind of part of how you rank quarterbacks. And then Tua again would be, and this is not just me talking. If you look, there have been rankings by Pro Football Focus, 33rd team. I think Pro Football Network, they've all ranked quarterbacks from 1 to 32, and Tua is I think in those, the highest he's been is Chris Sims, whatever you want to say about him, has him 18, and he's between 12 and the lowest was 19. So, is he good enough to beat the elite teams? That he hasn't been so far, and that's the question. Now, does Greer know this? Is it a matter of knowing it? And the other question is the belief that that's going to come if Tua improves and takes the next step? That's the big question, and this is where I can't imagine that Chris Greer He's going to give Tua $170 million guaranteed if he's not confident that Tua can help the Dolphins beat the elite teams. How's that? I got game says 210. So you agree with me? 210. Yeah, that's what I said. Mind you, he's still listed on the roster at 6'1", 227. Those roster weights tend to not get changed until we get to the regular season or training camp. One of those two, where they'll have like different numbers. And then it'll be, because I seem to recall at one point he was 6'1", 211. And then it was either last year or the year before that. That's when he moved up. Tua's market is in the Mike White contract range. Yeah, no. Dana, they canceled practice because they don't want Tua doing any more grumpy interviews. That's funny. I'm glad you mentioned that because it's going to bring me up to this. Is understand the NFL rules when it comes to player and doing interviews is no, I can't even go there because I'm not 100% sure. And this is where I'm going to fail you guys. And I apologize for that. I think players are required to talk at least once in the off season. I'd have to double check. During the regular season, players are required to talk once a week and after the game. It's part of the requirement. Some guys would not talk to us if they didn't have to. Let's just put it that way. And be clear about this. Tua wanted to get some things off his chest about his contract yesterday. Because the second he was like very short on answers about his weight, about working with John Beck and talking about the rubber band theory. But when it came to his contract, where he easily could have said, I'm just here. I'm not any of those. I'm not commenting on any of the contract negotiations. That's between my agents and the team. I just want to talk about football. But no, he went there. So he definitely wanted to make some points, including the market's the market. Is the market. That's your money quote right there. So, but that was a good one, Dana. Let's see. Brandon, Tua plays well ahead. Anything else, it's going to be an uphill battle. I haven't seen Tua do anything great lately in season. Not entirely true because, and here's the thing, the Dolphins were behind in the fourth quarter 6 times last season, behind with a chance to take the lead. And they came back twice. They came back against the Chargers. They came back against the Cowboys. And then 4 times they were not able to come back. That was against the Eagles. Because even though the final was 31-17, it was 24-17. The Dolphins were driving and there was a pick near the goal line. There was a game against Kansas City in Germany, the game at against Buffalo in Miami, and then the game against Tennessee. Where, yes, the defense gave up a 27-14 lead, but the Dolphins still had the ball and the chance to go get in position for a game-winning field goal and didn't get close. Oh. Hey, Boo. Omar says, hey. Hey, Omar. Since Omar is, I'm hoping you didn't jump off since you're on there. I'm going to share the news that there's not going to be a podcast tomorrow, but there will be a podcast on Friday. And my special guest is going to be my man, Omar. And if you guys didn't see it, I appeared as a guest on his Dolphins in Depth podcast at the Miami Herald on Monday. Hope you guys check it out. And then Omar is going to return the favor on Friday. So I hope you guys check that one out and tell your friends. And hopefully we can do these collaborations regularly. Marcus, to continue to blame just Tua when you're missing both Waddle and Mostert versus 2 good teams, and Berrios, Wilson, and Craycraft aren't good enough replacement versus elite teams' defenses. First of all, Marcus, who is blaming just Tua? I know you're not talking about me because I constantly deflected blame from only Tua, including the Kansas City game when Omar put it on Tua, and I was like, no, it wasn't strictly on Tua. And If you're talking about the playoff game, Waddle and Mostert, last I checked, both played. If you're talking Buffalo, I believe both of them were out. Aren't good enough replacement versus elite teams' defenses. Again, if you're an elite quarterback who's going to ask for $50 million, who's going to want $170 million guaranteed, you need to be good enough. And this is where the idea of elevating your team comes into play. Sorry, Marcus. Not on board there. That's funny. I see now where they give Tua his extra height inches. It's the hair. It's funny. Good question here, B. McD. How has Chop Robinson looked? Any flashes? Yeah, he had a really, really good practice. Maybe the OTA last week, I want to say. Really, really good. The last 2 days, I haven't really felt him. Dana, truth be told, the defense has been terrible against top tier teams too. Wrong. Was the defense terrible against Buffalo in the season finale last year when it gave up 14 points? Because you remember the score was 21-14. One of those was the punt return for a touchdown. Was the defense terrible in the playoff game against Kansas City? Sorry, no. Was the defense terrible in the game in Germany, the 21-14 game? Gave up 14 points because, again, one of those scores was the fumble return after Tyreek fumbled. Sorry, Dana, not buying that one. And you know I love you, buddy, but no, I don't agree with you there at all. You know I'm gonna go with my exposed question. Toby Marmarino, better exposed player, Tim Raine or Andre Dawson? I was a huge Tim Raine's guy. To me, if he's not top 3 leadoff hitters of all time, he's in the conversation. Yes, Lou Brock, Ricky Henderson for baseball heads over here. I got Game New Jersey. Miami has the longest playoff win drought in pro sports. We sure about that? I know in the NFL, but Sharif, 15 yards per game or 180 yards rushing from Tua, similar to Christian Wilkins betting. He can increase his ceiling with his feet 2 years into a fully healed hip. Omar Kelly thoughts. Why are you asking Omar on my podcast when he's dude? Sorry, but no. We still talking about the hip 5 years after the fact, really? He wasn't mobile last year. And again, I'm going to wind this down, but this is why it drives me nuts. I would challenge anybody to go look at 2 highlights of him scrambling and find me a better game in that category than Arizona 2020, which happened to be his second NFL start, which happened to be the year after he had the hip injury. So, and I've heard that comment, and it was used as an excuse a lot earlier. It kind of stopped being a thing a couple of years ago, and it's like, really? So, no. Tua's rushing, scrambling wasn't good last year because it was too heavy. Period. Zenman, Tua would already have been extended by now if the Dolphins were confident he is the long-term solution. I think the other issue here is the guarantee versus the durability factor in the eyes of the Dolphins. So, Walt Dog, Tua should play on current contract. If Tua plays top 10, wins 10 plus and loses wild card, let him walk 2025. Divisional, get him a tag. AFC 3-year deal, Super Bowl highest paid player, Dak or Kirk in 2025 if all fails. He said it, not me. Omar, what you got, Omar? Even if they are required to talk once in the offseason, 2 already did his event. Omar, I don't know if that qualifies. I don't think that qualifies. I could be wrong. I'll double check. Or you can double check and show me the clip and shame me. Brian says 206 233. Yeah, no. Tiny Tua tantrum. No, that wasn't what it was. It was somebody making a message and putting public pressure on the team. No, see that this is wrong here. I don't even know why I'm putting it off, but this is wrong. Ex-NFL bum teaching another. Do you know that some of the best teachers were not very good players? So the market is a market. Thank you, Omar. Got you there. Got to entertain hockey question. What's your pick for the Stanley Cup and why? I think I had got the Panthers, and I'm not convinced it's going to be close. I have the Panthers in 5, actually. Why? Because they're just very, very deep, very, very sound defensively. Whereas Edmonton is, to me, is a very average team if you take away Connor McDavid and to a lesser degree Leon Draisaitl. Oh, that's rude. That is rude. Poupart, you and Omar Kelly already failed us with your Ahmed and Achan comparison last season. And again, I'm going to repeat it. Go ahead and ask any of the other writers who cover the Dolphins how many times they mistook one for the other last year. What part of their build similarly, they have similar running styles, and in training camp practices, you generally don't get to see the juice that a guy has in the open field. Last year, it was all of us who had to do double takes looking at the shoes to see whether it was Ahmed and Achan who was carrying the ball. So please give that up already. Make enough mistakes on my own, legitimate mistakes, without this made-up one popping up. What up, Jeff? Good to see you, bud, too. By the way, Jeff turned me on to this show called All American, which is, quote-unquote, inspired by the story of Spencer Paysinger, who was a linebacker for the Dolphins in 2016-17, who's now, I believe, in movie or TV production. It's on Netflix. Jeff told me about it. I started watching it, and I'm on season 2, toward the end of season 2. And it's got some cliches, some corny stuff. The football scenes are, but still, I'm invested now, so I'm gonna keep watching it. You picking the Panthers to beat the Oilers? I am. Zenman on the Poyer sighting at camp. Yes, not only has Jordan Poyer been at everyone that we've attended, he was wearing the orange jersey today. Quad's form is Tua better than Goff. Same ballpark. Same ballpark, I think. Yeah, slightly better. Yeah, I think Tua is slightly better. But this is where the numbers, however, and then I broke down most of the big name quarterbacks, including Goff, ratings against playoff opponents. I did Goff for, let me see if I can find it real quick. I did Goff for the past 2 years. Let me see if I can find it. And I don't want to bore you while I go through my book here, where I do all my research, keep all my notes. And can I find it? Nope, I can't find it. But Goff's number against playoff opponents, since he's been in Detroit or last 2 years. Much better than Tua's done. And that's the issue with Tua. Who's to blame if we do the same next year and don't make the playoffs? Can we see how it's going to go? There's no way to answer that beforehand. Yep. Excellent point, Noel. The market is going to force teams to overpay for above average quarterbacks. That's just the reality. Noel said it, not me. Yeah, I think this notion of always in the next deal has to top the previous one is completely ridiculous to me. Like Patrick Mahomes, like is not the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. Please tell me how that makes sense. Because he's not the latest quarterback that got paid. Okay. Okay. Sharif, if Christian Wilkins can bust out and adjust his ceiling, Tua can bust out and adjust his feet ceiling. His Armtown ceiling is hitting its top now. Well, yeah, he can absolutely do more with his scrambling, and he did that in the past too. It was just that last year, his flat out was not there. Okay, let's see what else we got because we're gonna wrap it up. I guess Stanley Cup picks I already gave that. Panthers. Oh, and if any of you guys are not aware, I covered the Panthers as a side gig as a correspondent for NHL.com for about 10, 12 years, I want to say. Last season was the last season I did it. Panthers made the run to the Stanley Cup final, unfortunately lost to the Vegas Golden Knights. Gave up the gig this year because I wanted to focus all my energies on the Dolphins coverage and became too much on my plate. And they've managed to survive without me. In fact, thrived without me. So, John, on crazy speed, true, but when they had crazy blocking as per Denver game, they were unbeatable. They need both to win the statement games at the end of the season. Yeah, they need good blocking. I don't think anybody would argue that. But again, that good blocking helps. But if you got backs who's are zipping through holes quicker than other backs, it helps. Yep. Noel, you're right. He was slick during that Arizona game. Okay. And very interesting one here. Noel, Greer made the classic dating mistake with Tua. Never say I love you until you are ready to commit. And maybe they are ready to commit. H, do y'all remember when Burrow got his contract? Tua not having a contract right now is a non-story. Commitment is set. Except H, that Burrow got it, because you're going to make the point that Burrow got his contract right before the start of the regular season. He also got it a year ago. So it's not 100% the same. So. Okay. Yeah, Bill's fake crowd noise. Yeah, you're reaching that point of getting a tad annoying, to be honest with you. But you do you. And on that note, Chris, love your content, always fair and consistent. Thank you. Marcus, you hesitate to say Tua can't win a championship, so you give him a benefit of the doubt. He has to prove it to you. So you haven't ruled it out. You're not a hater. Thank you, Marcus. And I've never said it. I have said that I have my doubts, but I've never said no. Look, just like I said, I've never said that he can't reach another level. I haven't seen it, and I'm not sure that I would be comfortable committing 170 million guaranteed and lock myself up for the next 4 years because I haven't seen it. But I've never said this is who he is. That's all it'll ever be. It might be, but it's not. It's not impossible. It's not guaranteed that that's going to happen. We don't know. Okay, here's an. Do you personally think Tua will take another step forward as he did each year in the NFL? See, and this is where and have a winning record against playoff teams this season. Number one, I don't know. And number two, this is where, again, on a lot of the metrics, the clutch metrics, he did not take a step forward in 2023. And again, you don't hear that because it's so easy to say Tua's gotten better every year. Has he gotten better every year? If you're going to use passer rating as a gauge, his passer rating was better in 2022 than in 2023. The number of deep shots, he threw the ball consistently down the field a lot more in 2022 than he did in 2023. So, again, and this is what I've always done with Tua, and it's what's gotten me called a hater is I don't go with the easy narrative of and I had issues with Omar with that best deep passer in the NFL because of pure stats like in 2022. Well, yeah, he also had Tyreek Hill and Jaylen Waddle getting behind the defense all the time. So again, it's not just as simple as saying that. And again, this narrative of he's gotten better every year. I'm not sure he wasn't better in 2022 than he was. In my eyeballs, first of all, tell me I think he was better in 2022 than 2023. And again, the clutch metrics, late game, fourth quarter, end of the season, were better in 2022. Okay. Patrick. Hi, Patrick. Thank you very much for the contribution. If he holds in training camp, doesn't that hurt his marketability potential if he doesn't ball out, progress, stay healthy during the season? So doesn't the team really have all the leverage? Yeah, that's a good question. The other issue is how comfortable would the Dolphins be if Tua does play hardball? Does it affect their preparation for the start of the regular season? If he does the hold in and comes to camp and my back's hurting. Ultimately, though, it may be a gamble that he takes. And Adam Beasley of the Pro Football Network, I'm going to give him his credit. He made a good point. If you're going to do the hold in or even hold out and get fined, the position to do it is quarterback because your salary is going to be so crazy, so much crazier. And chances are you could make up the amount of the fines with the additional money you get by making that stance as opposed to accepting a lower offer. So, no, I'm just very curious to see how the whole thing plays out. I don't think it's anything that's etched in stone. Troy Ortiz, Alan, would you agree Tua's arm is well below average and his velocity on his throws? You're trying to get me in trouble here, aren't you? It's below average by NFL standards. But if he has time to step into a throw, he can chuck it down the field. He can chuck it over the middle. He can chuck it over the outside the numbers if he can step into a throw. But unfortunately, in the NFL, a lot of times is you can't step into a throw because of pressure. And that's where, yes, the arm strength is clearly below average. Coming to my defense on the Ahmed HN thing here, and I'm going to wrap it up after this, where it's about an hour and a half. Appreciate all of you guys for being here. They both have their jersey tied up above their waist. You literally can't tell a 6 from an 8. Not only that, the color scheme also makes it very, very difficult, especially when they're wearing the white jerseys with the aqua or light blue lettering. It's really tough to see. And again, for the smart Alex here, wow. Don't know what to say. Okay. See, I like this. Marcus, I'm going to end on that note because I like this. You're doing great without a consistent partner. Puppets poop, but that's okay. I appreciate you, even though we disagree on some things, and that's perfectly fine. There's zero issue with that. I love that too. And I don't want people. It would be boring if everybody agreed with everything I said. Keep up the great work. Much appreciated. On that note, I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to thank every one of you for joining me on this live episode on this Wednesday, June 5th. Again, please like and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Please check out the content for free at si.com/NFL/Dolphins. As a reminder, there will not be a podcast tomorrow on Friday. Be on the lookout. We're going to have Omar Kelly, my former partner. And yes, we're still friends. He's going to be the special guest. Until then, thanks again, and y'all have a good night.